2012. Will the minute taker please call the roll?
Alderman Roy Wesley.
Here.
Alderman Coles.
Here.
Alderman Shockey. Alderman Sizmarsky.
Here.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Here.
Alderman Winger.
Here.
Alderman Lazara.
Here.
Alderman Woods.
Here.
I do declare a quorum. Next item is approval of minutes dated June 14, 2012. I do make that motion to approve those minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Before I get into items, I will ask that the Finance and Administration Chairperson please recognize Mr. Joe Batiste, who does want to speak. If you're okay with that, before you get into the topics of that committee, which is our second scheduled committee. The Finance and Administration Committee meeting, Mr. Joe Batiste would like to speak. So I would probably take that up after the approval of minutes in that schedule.
Actually, it's under public safety.
Next item is,
Public safety. that's
report.
federal.
I'm sorry,
You said finance, it's public safety.
I thought it was a second committee. Mr. Batiste, what committee, what topic are you going to speak in? Okay, public health and safety, okay. So I redirect that to the Public Health and Safety Chairman, thank you, okay. Okay. Next item is, or the first item is number 4, the extension of sign amortization schedule of the sign code. And this is really about discussing the schedule itself and then looking at, are we going to enforce or not? I know on my end, and constituents have asked me about it as well. When are you going to start enforcing it? I say we start. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask Mr. Clicker to take us through the overview and for the people at home, and then we'll have the discussion. Mr. Clicker.
Sure. The sign code, which was approved on May 17th of 2006, required that all freestanding signs be replaced with monument signs. All the pole signs be replaced with monument signs. To accomplish that, an amortization schedule was established. Over the years, as that amortization schedule has approached, the council has periodically extended that amortization either due to road projects that were going on or discussion regarding road projects that was potentially going to happen or not happen, and also economic conditions. Those amortization schedules are upon us again, the dates for it, and we need to know if it is now is the time if we'd like to enforce those or if we would like to, once again, due to economic conditions and potential road projects, extend those out for a little extended period of time.
Alderman Lazara.
Russ, I don't know if there was an average of what a sign like that would cost. Do you have that number? Right?
It varies drastically depending on the size of the sign and of that nature. To construct a new freestanding or a new monument sign would probably range a business owner in somewhere in the $10,000 to $20,000 range.
Okay.
Alderman Sizmarsky.
Hey, Ross, how long have we pushed this off already?
In 2006, it was a 3-year amortization schedule, so it's been pushed off about 4 or 5 years.
Thank you.
Alderman Lazara.
Russ, how many have so far complied?
We've achieved approximately half of our signs in town have complied.
Okay.
We have, as we're adding them up and looking at it, there's approximately 10 signs that need to comply with this regulation today.
So about 10 more?
Yes.
Okay. And do we know for sure that these businesses are having difficulty in doing this?
Some, yes. We do know that, yes.
So the ones that aren't, would they do it then?
They may. It would include signs such as the Target sign that's out in front of in front of their building, the Jewel sign, the Georgetown Shopping Center sign, plus some other. Obviously, some of the gas stations need to lower their signs. It varies from either small businesses up to the shopping centers that need to modify these.
Okay, thank you.
So I recall that after we put this in place, that there was 2 different specific areas, one within the reconstruction area, one without. the areas that were originally in the reconstruction area, how many of them are now still in, given our improvement tact of the way we're going?
The ones that were exempted before because they were in the improvement area, there are 3 or 4 signs that are still within the area that would have been classified as the improvement area that would have been exempted. So they've had approximately 3 years to prepare.
Okay, and that 3 or 4 signs, are they in the new improvement area as well? So are they subject to any change? Because we're just doing modifications instead of,
Right, there are no major right-of-way changes with the improvements that are going on. So none
Okay.
of these signs would be impacted by that.
so it's safe to say everything is fair game at this point to comply? Okay. I want to see compliance. First, do you wish to be called on? You had your
No, I'll wait till-
hand raised.
I'll
Alderman
wait.
Calls.
If I recall, Georgetown was left out because that's a sign with multi-advertisement in. And if you wanted to have small signs, like the 10 by 4 foot or whatever we want, you'd have a row of signs in a row in order to have everybody that is there, there'd be probably 20 little monument signs. So I believe it was that they could keep their signs as long as they maintained it and kept it up, if I remember right.
Mr. Clicker, so what can we suggest to Georgetown Shopping Center along the lines of the concern that Alderman Calls is having? So what can we suggest that will offer some degree of compliance to this?
They would need to have a sign that would be 100 square feet in size, that would be a maximum of 20 feet above the street or curb level. But again, it cannot be a pole sign, it must be a monument sign. Their sign that's out there right now would be classified as a pole sign because it has
It is a pole, yes,
Sure.
yeah.
2
But,
distinct.
but there's ways around the 20 signs in a row
Correct.
kind of concept.
100
of-
square feet, that's there have been tenants in there that have been requesting additional signage. So it is a tough environment for businesses right now with signage, and they want more, they don't want less.
Sure, okay, okay, good, okay, so that's solvable. Okay, Alderman Roy Wesley.
Ross,
Yes.
I think you're wrong on Georgetown because I think they're exempt from it. When they came into the city of Wooddale a long time ago, they were exempt then. And I remember when Mr. Johnson was mayor many years ago, when we put this ordinance in, that was mentioned.
I'll have to review
So-
those records. There's nothing in the text that exempts them from it, but I will verify that.
So they would be exempt, as from what was talked about back then. The year is 2015, correct?
What's that? I'm sorry?
The
The
po-
extension, the proposed extension would be 2015.
That's your proposal?
And then for the Thorndale Corridor Study Area, it would be 2017 is the proposed extension. The Thorndale Corridor area right now, the extension, the amortization on that one is 2014. That was extended so that we could get more comfortable with the Elgin O'Hare plans, and that businesses in there wouldn't modify their signs and then have to do it again once the Elgin O'Hare was constructed.
Okay, considering the economic times is still there, and with businesses still hurting, I'd like to make a motion to extend it to 2015.
There is a motion on the floor, is there a second? I'm going to ask 2 more times, there's a motion on the floor to extend the first part to 2015.
Yes, that's his recommendation.
Or the recommendation, well, it's still a motion, there's a motion to comply with the recommendation to 2015 for the first part. I'm going to ask the second time, is there a second? And then lastly, is there a second? Okay, that motion fails. Next question for myself is the exempt. So help me understand the conversation of exempt. And Mr. Clicker, what do you believe is exempt and what does Alderman Ryan Wesley believe is not?
My understanding of reading the text that's in the sign code, again, I was not here when this original sign code was approved, but my understanding in here is there are no signs that are now exempt because we have removed that that exemption from the intersection area
That's my
study.
understanding
So,
too. Okay.
It's my understanding that all signs must comply with this regulation.
Because, that's my understanding as well, because we migrated to the improvement area. Now, I'm going to ask Mr. Bond, since he is with us tonight, that since we did migrate our intersection project to improvements rather than grade, separation, that sort of thing, is there something we need to pass to now put the sign code enforcement in effect as it was initially?
No, you've got, I mean, if you're, the question you have is whether or not you're going to enforce it or whether you're going to extend the amortization. There's nothing else you would need to do for those purposes. And my recollection of the Georgetown is consistent with what the statutes or the code showing.
Okay, or any type of pardon we were giving to businesses that might have been in the grade separation. There was more of a pardon and not necessarily legality, correct?
Right, there was because of the discussion and not knowing exactly where that was going to go, it was the direction of staff to not undertake any enforcement measures with respect to that, and that once it was decided what was going to happen with respect to the grade separation, at that point in time, then there'd either be revisions to the sign code or the enforcement could continue. So, but there was no formalized exemption set forth in the code itself.
Okay, thank you. So, Alderman Roy Wesley, it's my understanding exemption is off the table, so there's probably no extra work that Mr. Clicker is going to have unless you have a question for Mr. Bond.
Yes, I do. Mr. Bond, this exemption was brought, what I'm talking about was brought in when Georgetown was built. I think we need to look at some research on that and going back to when it was built, that when they put up that sign.
Mr. Bond?
Yeah, we certainly could look at that, and it was my understanding that when the sign, I don't remember when the sign code amendments were made, but that they, what was it?
May of 2006.
You know, that was discussed and whether or not that would be applicable to Georgetown. And there was no formal exemption set forth in there, although there was some discussion as to what enforcement would be done with respect to that. So we can certainly look and see if there was any covenants with respect to the approval process when Georgetown was first approved as a development.
So is that your concern, Alderman Roy Wesley, that we look at what's in the legal documents to see
Yeah.
if there's any right that
Right,
they
because
have to keep their sign?
No one was here in 1970. I mean, when it was started. So.
Okay, so you'll check into the documents on Georgetown only,
Certainly.
the shopping mall, and see if there's anything there. Thank you. Alderman Police.
Regarding the Georgetown,
Thank you.
being that they have so many tenants and whatnot.
Right.
My question is, I think Alderman Roy Wesley said something, well, how many signs would they have to put up? I mean, would it all fit on one sign, or are they gonna have 6 different ones?
The current the regulations in the current sign code for a shopping center would allow a 100-square-foot sign with a maximum 20 feet above street level. However, it has to be a monument, not a pole sign. And however they choose to utilize that 100 square feet is up to them. If they have 30 tenants in there, that could be, 4 or 5 square foot per tenant.
Okay. So it'd all be on one then,
Correct.
we're not gonna have like 5 signs across the front?
Unless they were to come in and request variations and additional signage, no.
Okay, I want to hear maybe one more thing on Georgetown until we hear from Mr. Clicker on what's involved there, because there's other signs to be improved, and I don't want to bog us down on just one item here. So anything else on Georgetown? Alderman Coles?
Well, if you're gonna put a sign up that high, and it's gonna be a monument sign, it ain't gonna cost $10,000.
That's gonna be it.
You're looking at bricklayers, you're looking at brick, you're looking at electrical controls, now you start talking probably $75,000 to $100,000 to put up a sign like that. So you better decide what you wanna do, but, I'm against that sign.
Okay, so And in our next committee meeting, we will review the Georgetown sign issue. Let's get back to the majority. So anything to do with the majority of others? Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Since we're doing the safety improvement in Wooddale and Irving, we do have some pole signs still intact there. Until we see the final design of that project, and right now they're doing the surveying out there, and going to our engineer that is doing that project, time they lay it out, we will not be under construction for another 2 years for that project. You have a Shell gas station, you have a Shorty's, and all that. So my question here, if we go ahead and put this back in play here, that means we vote to put them out on signs. So my question is, we still aren't done with that intersection. And the Shell gas station, we got Shorty's, you got the bank. I mean, where do you draw the line? If you go ahead and adopt this tonight the way it is, you're forcing those people, 2015, put that in there. Well, all right, today, we go with the recommendation, and then once they start digging that area up to add that turn lane we talked about, we don't know the final design of that whole intersection yet. We know they talked about adding a turn lane, doing stuff. I'm not in favor of adopting this unless you grandfather those people out of it at this time, because we know that intersection is going to be reconstructed. Okay, so to have them go ahead and put that kind of money in and then find out the bulldozer comes and dig that out, whose liability is that going to be? That's my concern in that intersection. Other than that, I think we get eliminated the further down the road when we talk about taking out the houses and turn lanes. That's all off the table now. So those are the three businesses I'm concerned with, and whether it might be in that intersection project. And I believe the pizza joint might be there too, White Cottage, right? Possible. So, I mean, I would look at our construction site, the way that's being laid out until we get that final play, that you might want to pull this back for that area only until we find out what the construction is. Thank you.
I've been at city council for about 9 years, right around there. And this intersection study has been going on since before then. And we've been planning and waiting and thinking, and it never happens. I'm not going to stunt the growth to wait another 2-3 years to maybe take out a sign. If we need to alter a sign and pay for it, then we do. The businesses need to step up and put signs out that comply. We've had this on the books for several years, and we keep saying, well, we might do this, we might do that. Let's say we have to put out some money because we changed something, then that's what we have to do. It's economic development. It's about making our community look right. So let's stop changing things, offering, pardons here and there. Let's just get this done. Alderman Woods.
Yeah, to Alderman Wesley's concern, I mean, it is going to be a while before we build it, but on paper, we should have fairly close to a definitive answer, probably in 4 to 6 months, what they're going to do with it. So I think moving forward, to echo what Alderman Winger said, we just need to move forward. A lot of people complied with this already. Thanks.
And along those lines, if those 3 businesses want to lay out the plan for the sign, show us how much it's going to cost them, put some real foot forward in this, that's one thing, and we'll give them 6 months to put it in. I can live with that, but I can't live with wait 3 years and then show us what you got. Alderman Sizmarsky.
Yes, can we get some survey on when IDOT's gonna redo their street? Because I don't see it conducive to go and put a sign up and have IDOT rip up our streets, and we also have water main project going on. I can't see you making someone shell out for a sign we're gonna knock down to put a water main in, or IDOT to go through and do road construction on Irving Park Road. I mean, I don't really see, them going along with that.
Okay, so which signs would be affected by, Mr. Mayor?
Actually, I spoke to one of the engineers on the project last Friday, and I asked him, so we're gonna put a shovel in the ground come next April? And he goes, well, we'll probably have most of the preliminary work done around February. He was talking about there is gonna be some property buyouts in the area to put in the extra turning lanes. I know, extra turning lane on Wooddale Road going southbound. It's gonna go actually right through the clock garden, it's gonna go, pretty much. Extra turning lane on Irving Park going eastbound. So, but come next February, I think we'll know exactly what signs are gonna be affected and what not, according to him. As far as the purchases of the properties and stuff, that's gonna take a little longer, and the IDOT approval, and that's why he doesn't think we're gonna be putting a shovel in the ground next summer. He goes, we might not have final approvals until July. But as far as the plan goes, around February next year, we should probably know what's gonna be what. So, just an update.
Okay, thank you. Follow up on that, Alderman Sizmarsky?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, when I said the Irving Park corridor, I didn't mean the intersection, I meant all of Irving Park is supposed to be resurfaced, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we've been trying to find that out. Actually, we asked our state rep to look into that for us as well, because we are going to go in and we are looking at the water main project, part of the Irving Park and Wooddale improvements. Speaking to the engineer, we have about 6,500 feet. We might actually get about a third of that paid with the grant money instead of coming out of Wooddale's pocket. So, and we're looking to do the other, maybe a third next year as well.
If if a sign is placed where the old one was, it's my understanding it's not going to necessarily affect whatever takes place in that right-of-way, and if it does, that entity would then replace that sign how it was. Now, I'm going to ask Mr. Bond, since he's with us tonight, how that part works.
If IDOT is doing work on the road right-of-way and that work necessitates the sign relocation, IDOT compensates the property owner for that cost. So if there's a sign that has to be affected, they would take care of that. And they make every effort not to do that, so they don't incur that cost.
Okay, thank you. Does that help? Alderman
Yeah, I
Sizmarsky?
was just gonna
Okay.
follow up on it. Maybe we should just do we know when IDOT's got a planned proposal to do Irving Park Road? There's
I'm not
nothing-
aware of the
nothing in
plan
the future.
proposal. Does, Mr. Kramer, do you have any update on the IDOT thing? Or, no?
Okay.
Okay. So there's no plans? that
That's
we
fine.
know of? Okay. Alderman Eugene Wesley?
So, while you are here, Mr. Pat Bond, my concern here is you just said that if a road project's going through, like our turn lanes and all that, so if they go ahead and put that monitoring sign down, they are actually going to do that, or is the city going to be liable knowing that it's a city project funded for grant money? Okay, funded through grant money. Are we going to be able to cough up that money, or IDOT's going to be able to use that to replace that sign out of that grant money that project is funded through? That's my concern. I mean, I don't care if the signs go lower, but the point is, and the way Christine was saying, well, we'll just pay put their sign back. I ain't taking tax dollars money that for those businesses that the people pay for property taxes for a business and replace the sign that we could have stopped not to be taken down at this time, because we know that project's going. We awarded contract, we moved forward with the design on it. They've been working very hard on it right now. They are trying to push this sooner. They're looking at building the electrical wires over there with that grant money. I just think that's my concern, taking taxpayers' money and a grant money and saying that they're going to put it up there.
So what is your question for Mr. Bond? Recap it so we can
My
get an
question
answer.
is, Mr. Bond, could we take that grant money and reissue it to a business to put that sign back, knowing that we forced them to lower that sign?
No, what you're doing is, the answer to your question is no. What you'd be doing is requiring, if there's no amortization approved recommended by the committee, then they have to comply with the code. And to the extent that there's requirements that they comply with the code, that becomes the cost to the business and not a cost to the city, and no grant monies would be used. If IDOT does roadway improvements and those roadway improvements impact that sign, and it has to be relocated even temporarily while they're doing the road work, then IDOT has a legal obligation to make sure that that sign is restored at their cost to the condition it was in before IDOT completed that work.
With the grant one.
Or without the grant?
Without. Okay. Yeah, we're good. Alderman Woods.
To follow up on Alderman Wesley's concern, we already said that few signs that are going to be affected there, whether it's 3, that we would give them the extra time, you know, because in that 6-month, 7-month time frame, we should know, have the preliminary drawings and know what that intersection's going to look like.
I'm going to call on, I'll entertain 2 more comments, and then I'm going to look for a motion. So Alderman, do you wish to be recognized, Alderman
Yes.
Roy Wesley? Okay, go ahead.
Could someone, I'm looking at Addison on these monument signs. And they're further back from the road. Has anyone looked at Irving Park during a snowstorm and how fast these state trucks go? 35, 40 miles an hour in the middle of the night, taking out these signs possibly? They've taken out mailboxes. They've taken out windows and houses on Addison Road, on the side window. So, I mean, and I can't believe that we're gonna put another hardship on these businesses in these economic times. I know, when are good times gonna come? Who knows?
I don't know.
It never knows when it's gonna come, but possibly you could put a business out of business by doing this. I mean, banks aren't giving money like they used to. It doesn't make sense. We're supposed to try to help the businesses, and I know it's been a long time, but it sounds like you're hurting the businesses more than helping them. And I know there's a time and place, but, you know, with Obama on healthcare and this and that, and no one knows where it's gonna go. And the property taxes going up every year, and come on, doesn't anyone see here that businesses are hurting? Christie's out for 2 days because of power. Let's fix the power over there with ComEd too. I mean, this is ridiculous. Businesses are hurting, and we're supposed to bring businesses in? You're drawing them out. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, any other question, comment before a motion is made? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to sustain and support our current ordinance with the exception of tabling the Georgetown sign question to our next committee meeting. Will that be safe to do the research by our next committee meeting? And then secondly, the 3 areas affected by the potential redesign of the intersection, improvements, to ask them for a plan to put in place with the end date 6 months out from August 1st. So I want to see 6 months from August 1st, that the end date is a sign going in the ground and what it's going to look like and how they're going to finance it. I want something solid in place. So unless do you have any questions on that motion before I look for a second?
For the businesses that potentially could be impacted by the intersection study would be, they need to have a plan within 6 months to replace their signs?
Like a plan by August 1st
To replace.
to replace, and they'll have 6 months to go. And if August 1st is too soon to get something from them, maybe it's, what do you think, like September 1st? Ask them to put something in place, because we've been pardoning them for years. So it's time they put something down, and it can be developed over time, but let's get a
By
plan.
September 1st, they need to give us a plan to have that sign replaced within 6 months.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you. So that is my motion. Is there a second before I call the question?
I'll second.
There's a motion, a second on the question. Anything on the question? Alderman Ryan Wesley.
Just keep in mind, before you take this vote, that the businesses in Wooddale, instead of helping them, you're hurting them. And who knows? Instead of hiring another employee, let's put in a sign.
Okay.
Doesn't make sense.
Okay, and I will say that I've always tried to support the businesses. I know that Elmhurst has offered grants to small businesses, $10,000 to put a business in a storefront and others. I'd like to see that here. I've mentioned that before. A majority doesn't want to support it. I want to see the small business flourish. We've tried to do programs of online and coupons online, and then there's aldermen that are concerned that the company wasn't legitimate or whatever. I mean, we got to try things to bring businesses in and try and be moving forward. We're not going to always do the very best thing, but we got to try different things to bring people in. So I'm not trying to hurt a business. I'm trying to make our town look nice, and I believe that in turn the businesses will do better business because it looks better. Thank you. Alderman Lazara.
Ross, is there a way that we can actually get a list of the businesses that need to do this?
Certainly.
Can we get that list soon, or is
I'll
it
have it for you by council.
by council? Okay. Because I'd be really curious to see if there is anyone that would experience a hardship with this. So if you could get that list, that'd be great. Thank you.
And Alderman Woods.
Yeah, I just wanted to expand on what Alderman Winger said. I mean, the purpose of this isn't to punish the business, it's to build the community, to help the businesses. We need to move forward. We can't sit and stagnate and just decay and deteriorate while all the other surrounding suburbs get the new businesses, because those suburbs are willing to enforce the rules, regulation, laws that they put on the books. Thank you.
There's a motion, a second. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear 2 oppositions. Should, Alderman Sismarski, were you in favor or opposed? In favor. Opposed? Okay, so will the minute taker call the motion? Call the roll.
Alderman Roy Wesley,
No.
Alderman Coles,
No.
Alderman Sismarski,
Yes.
Alderman Eugene Wesley, Alderman Winger.
Yes.
Alderman Lazara,
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
That motion passes. Next item is stormwater and flood management and floodplain management ordinance. Mr. Clicker?
Yes, the county is in the process of adopting new stormwater regulations. As part of that, we are required to adopt said language into our stormwater ordinance. They need an ordinance of support regarding that, and if we get that support from the council, we will then begin our formal process to adopt the stormwater regulations into our UDO, as the stormwater ordinance is part of our UDO, and as such, we would need to do a formal text amendment process through the CDC process.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt us for a moment, Mr. Clicker, unless you're, Alderman Woods?
Yeah, before we get going, to summarize this, we need to approve the new stormwater code that DuPage County passed. Do we have an option?
No. To maintain our waiver status, we need to
That was
pass
my
it.
only question. You don't need to.
Yeah, what it is, just to elaborate on this, this is a resolution saying that we will maintain the standards. That's it.
Thank you. So, and then probably also to elaborate that the county's is more broad and Wooddale's is a little more stringent, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so essentially it really doesn't impact what we're doing here in Wooddale, other than to pass it.
Not at this time, yes.
Okay, then I'm going to look for a motion on this, a second, then I'll call the question. I have a motion, is there a second? I have a second. Anything on the question? Alderman Sismarski, are you, okay. Then, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
One opposed, motion carries. Next item is items to be considered at future meetings. I have none at this moment. Does anyone wish to have anything? Alderman Roy Wesley.
When are we gonna bring up about the engineering again? I mean, I know we talked about it before.
Tell me more about the topic.
Well, we talked about it in future meetings. I'd like to know when it's gonna be brought up. About,
It looks like Mr. Mayor wants to expand on that. Mr. Mayor, is this along the lines of the engineering?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, about 2 weeks ago, the manager and myself sat in on a meeting. He's looking into the engineering as to how to handle it going forward. as of right now, we're just in preliminary stage. I mean, I don't even have any other information. He's getting a scope, they're getting a scope of services together, and right now, that's basically all I have. Unless you want the manager to look into something specific, he is evaluating that department. And that's really all I know.
Okay, so I guess we're not gonna talk about it. I thought,
Well,
I meant, that goes under planning and zoning, and then brought it up at the last couple meetings ago, and I guess it just drops off. It's
That's
okay.
not my understanding. I believe it's under discussion of in-house, out-of-house, that sort of thing. That's what you're asking about, correct?
Right, I mean,
let me,
Mr. Mayor?
I want to say, let's see, end of July, possibly the end of August, early September, he may come for a recommendation before the council.
okay.
The timeline's not exact yet because it's not finished, and really, that's all I know.
Any other items? I make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Public Health and Safety and Judicial Committee, call to order. Everyone is here. Roll call, everybody's here. Approve the minutes of May 10th, 2012. That's my motion.
Second.
Anybody got any comments? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. 4, reports and recommendations on video gambling. We went through this about 2 weeks ago, and, no, it's been longer than that, maybe 4 weeks ago. American, VFW is here. Joe, do you want to speak? Just for a minute. Go ahead.
In just one case here, I'm Joe Baptiste from VFW. In just one case here, I agree with Alderman Wesley here that business is bad all over. And an example, I'll just give you an example here. I was just talking to some people today, telling them that back in 2008, 9, we were selling pull tabs in our club over there. We were selling 11 to 12,000 per night on a Tuesday. Today, we're selling 3 to 5,000. So it's completely dropped, and it hurts our business. Our business is down like crazy, and we have a big operation over there. But the idea, I know I'm only talking for myself, there's other people who have probably the same problems like this here, but we are in need of this here video gambling at our club, because we've been paying every 3 months since 15, 16 years out here and the rest of the stuff in Bensonville. But every 3 months, we always send the state, we used to send them 11, 12,000, 13,000 every 3 months because we pay taxes. And right now, we're charging them about 8,000, 9,000 to the most. So it has come down, but we need this because our funds start to drain down and down and down. So we're at a point where this is going to be a crucial vote, and for us, I don't know about anybody else, and I'm not interested in anybody else. I'm only talking for myself and for the VFW. And I want to say thank you, and I hope you do the right thing.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Thank you. All right. Well, we got one thing to say. We voted on, in 2009, to not have video poker in City of Wooddale. Yet we also have gambling with scratch cards, We have gambling on just about everything you turn around. On every store has a lottery machine, which is a gambling machine. All, this is on my own, Mr. Vesta, Chief Vesta. We all have tendencies to gamble a little bit. I don't think there's anybody up here that hasn't gambled. And so we have to decide, do we want video poker in Wooddale, or don't we want video poker? So I would suggest that we have a short run to find out how many people want it and how many people don't, before we start talking about the paperwork and who takes care of what machines and that. So I would suggest that I make a little motion to find out who wants what and who wants. If you want it, say yes. If you don't want it, say no. Let's take a sort of a vote on it. I know we can't do it legally, but we have to find out some sort of a survey.
Yes.
I can't do that.
Point of order. What you could do, you can't do that by way of motion, but you certainly can determine whether there's a consensus among the council to move forward
All
or
right,
not.
then I make
and then you would-
consensus then.
And so you could poll the council and then request a motion based upon that poll.
All right, we make a concession that we find out who wants it and who doesn't want it. Mr. Woods, we'll start with Mr. Woods,
No.
okay? Frank?
Yes.
Ms. Winger? Eugene? Mike?
No.
Roy?
I want discussion.
And myself, I say yes. So we got, what do we have? 4-2? One abstention. 4-3, actually. So I can discuss it.
So my suggestion or recommendation for the motion would be you move to rescind the ban. That would then, in a second, once you have that on the floor, then you can entertain discussion on that.
All right. I want to make a motion that we rescind the ban that we did in 2009 against video poker. I'd like to make it's get me confused here. I'm getting nervous because I'm doing things without even knowing, just off the top of my head. I'd like to take a roll call. We don't have to make it a voice, just how many want it and how many don't. And a second on the motion.
I'm not sure I'm following.
There's a motion on the floor to rescind the ban on gambling, video gambling. Because there's currently, it's not permitted. So if you vote in favor of that, it'll get the discussion, and then you would move forward with, that would allow, under the Video Gaming Act, that would allow gambling and video
Yeah.
gaming.
I'll second it.
All right. Mr. Woods, no again?
Discussion, if you don't mind, Joe. If we can
What?
follow some of the rules and have a discussion.
Discussion.
I have a question.
Okay. Mr. Woods, start off.
This is for the council, this is for Joe also, if he could answer it. The part I don't understand is that, businesses are doing bad. So the economy is bad, people don't have disposable income. So if we offer them gambling, magically their income will go up? If I have $100 of disposable income to spend, if I spend it on beer, pull tabs, or whatever, I only have $100 to spend, so it really doesn't matter. If I go to video gambling, the only difference in my mind is the state gets 30% instead of 8 3/4%. of the proceeds, but the total dollars that are going to be spent are really going to be the same. They're just going to get moved around.
All right. My answer to that is, if you want to gamble, you will gamble. If you don't want to gamble, you won't gamble. And if you have $100 that you want to spend, you can spend it almost on anything, and you get nothing in return either. So that's the way I look at it. At least with the city and the state get a little on it, just like buying a lotto ticket. You buy a dollar lotto ticket, you get nothing in return. So it's only a dollar though. Some
Right.
people, I guess, gamble a lot. I do not gamble, so
My response is, though, that the same dollar amount's still spent.
I know, but I don't gamble, so I
So
don't.
there is no net benefit to anybody,
They will be if all this,
but there will not be. That's the point.
all right, okay. Frank?
I think what I see is, people are gonna wanna gamble when these, machines are available in Bensonville, Itasca, Elk Grove. And what they would probably do is go to those establishments that offer that. I think that's really what I see is the difference is that if we don't have them in our community, we're going to lose business from people who want to play these games and know that these games are offered, and simply go to the establishments that have them. And I think that's why I'd like to see them here, is because I would like to see the dollars spent here instead of people leaving, going to Itasca, Bensonville, or Elk Grove. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Swinger, you have anything to say? No? Eugene? No? Mike?
The only reason I said no is because until we have some kind of format other than the state's laws and what we can get from this, I don't see any reason to keep going forward. You guys decided not to have video gaming before for a reason.
Oh,
What was that reason?
the reason was that nobody in.
There's still no rules.
Uh,
There's the state's rules, but there's no city rules. So
The
I
city
can't
has
go
a
forward
rule,
and-
they issue a license, and they won't issue the license for the machine to somebody that doesn't have a liquor license. And through the liquor license, they can control the machine. All right,
Who's gonna control that?
the mayor?
Actually, as far as control, there's 30, I believe we have 31 liquor licenses. 20 are allowed to put in the machines. And really, we have no other control, the state. And actually, Tuesday night, I think it was Tuesday night, I saw one of our senators, and I asked, you guys are debating in Springfield about adding casino licenses, and you guys don't want to do it, but then you go and pass that every liquor store in the state can have video poker. So which is it? Well, didn't have a real good answer. But the other thing is, as far as these 5 machines, let's say half of the businesses put in the machines. The amount of income, if people are think this is a money thing, I think the city may receive about $50,000 from those 10 businesses at the most per year. I mean, it's not like, don't make it sound like this is $1 million business for
I
the
didn't
city.
say it was.
No, but I just want to make sure everybody understands what the amounts are, and I don't know, I spoke to the chief about it. That's all I have to say.
All right, Roy?
I think Joe from the VFW
All
wants to
right.
say, and then Mr.
You want to speak
Bond.
again, Joe?
You gotta go in the mic.
Go up there.
Just a quickie. The city, I remember, opt out because at the time that they opt out, there were no rules and regulations that were really solid with the state. Because I've been talking to my pull tab supplier, who's also one that would supply the gaming machines. At the present moment, I couldn't talk to anybody, nobody else could talk to nobody because the city over here has not opted back in. That has to be the first thing. After that, then you can determine if you want them or not, that's the second thing. But as far as the city gets 5% of this, and as far as handling the money, from what I understand with the machines, we don't even touch the money because the machines are pulled in, they're put in by the state or by the suppliers, and all of that is hooked up with the state down in Springfield. And then the money is in a box. If they handle that, we don't even touch it. So it's a matter of taking care of the money. We don't worry about that because we don't handle that. It's almost like a casino. I think they put a ticket in there like that, and you get your money. You get your own money then. But a lot of people have them in. I could have got them in if I wanted to illegally, but I don't want to do that because I've got good rapport with the city. I'd rather not have it and go out of business than do something like this. But be assured that the people who have these things right now, like the pull tabs and the bingo, we pay taxes to the state, and they're happy with what we do because they get their money right off the top. And I hope that you guys can help us out or help the other people out who are going to have them, who you're going to allow to have them. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Roy?
Do you want to go first, Pat, or no?
No, no. go
Okay,
ahead.
all right. You're out. Mr. Mayor, you said how many machines? Or how many establishments?
We have 20 businesses that qualify from what I understand, at least what was written down here. And let's say half of them take it, let's say 10 of the businesses take, because I've talked to one of the businesses, and he says definitely not in his establishment, he doesn't want it. But let's just say half, everybody gets 5 machines, that's 50 machines throughout the town at, what was it, 2,000?
The estimates are that each machine, if fully utilized, would bring in about $2,000 a year to the municipality. So kind of conservatively speaking, if there was 50 machines, maybe you might get 2,000 out of a machine, but you pretty much have to plan on half of that until something changes. That's where the $50,000 figure came out.
Okay, could I go on?
Go ahead.
Okay, I get it now how you bring in businesses from the signs and stuff too, now from the gambling here. But Greg, how would you, if it was, an example, a restaurant that has a bar in it, would they be qualified for a machine?
Yes, any licensee that is allowed for consumption on premises, if they go through the proper licensing with the state, we don't control that, then the state would grant them the licenses for the for the video gaming machines.
So in return, who, maybe the question's to Pep on this one, who, say, 17-year-old and put some $5 in, who monitors that? The state doesn't know that because you're, I don't know who could answer that question if the police chief would
I do have one thought on that. Similar to how we handle alcohol compliance checks and also tobacco compliance checks, my guess is there will be some type of enforcement mechanism through the state, whether it be a grant or local agencies doing it. Just like the tobacco shops in town, if they violate the law, such as if a business violates the video gaming law, there's measures we can take, such as bringing them before the liquor commissioner to seek a revocation of their liquor license. And if they don't have a liquor license, they can't have gambling either. So if there's an enforcement mechanism, the city, I think, would still have, and maybe the attorney has some thoughts on it, but if they don't have a liquor license, they can't have these machines. If they're violating the law on a regular basis and allowing minors to gamble or whatever those situations are, we would certainly bring something like that to the liquor commissioner, just as we do for underage drinking.
And that would be the ordinance, or the state statute provides that the machines have to be located in an area segregated for persons. First of all, it's only for persons 21 years of age and older. It has to be segregated. The entrance must be within plain view of some individual who is over the age of 21 to regulate those who are coming in and so forth. So You do have that. The city does retain the enforcement authority. As the chief said, you've still got the right, first of all, the establishments fall in several categories. One, as the chief said, is a licensed establishment that is where alcoholic beverages are served for consumption on premise. They've got a liquor license. Second one is a fraternal organization, a veterans organization, and a licensed truck stop, which is a significant size, 3,000 square feet, and it's got to have a certain number of gallons for fueling. But the city, because there is a liquor license involved, the city still has the authority to regulate it under the liquor license. They also have local enforcement. If they're violating the law, the city retains that right to prosecute those claims and charges as well. So the city, while we have no licensing authority and regulatory authority in regard to that, the city retains the right for enforcement purposes.
But, could I go on?
Yes, go ahead.
On Mr. Bond, what you just said there, we could control who gets these machines in a way. I know what you're going to say, no. But if we change our liquor license around on how we issue a liquor license, they would still have to follow those guidelines, correct? Because we control the establishment of the license.
Yeah, the city would still retain the authority to regulate the issuance of liquor licenses, both in terms of the numbers, the classifications. The state has exclusive authority over the licensing of these establishments, these machines, solely for purposes of gambling. So you could, but it would be very difficult, in my opinion, to try and find a criteria whereby you could restrict who would be able to receive it. Now, what you could do is if there were violations of this act, then that would constitute a violation of their liquor license, and you could pull their liquor license as a result of that, or suspend it, or revoke it. If that were the case, then they would no longer be an eligible establishment under the Gaming Act, because they would not be an establishment licensed to sell alcoholic beverages on premises. So you have that regulatory ability.
So, in return, if they violate an ordinance in the liquor, and they could, and for they could get we can't yank the machine out in any which way.
That's correct. You can't do anything with their license, nor their gaming license, nor can you remove the machine. But if the establishment no longer has a liquor license where they're able to sell alcoholic beverages on site, they're not eligible to have a gaming device in the establishment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else got any question? All right, Mayor?
So Pat, just so I'm clear, we can't restrict, like, let's say right now we have no open liquor licenses, and the only way we can open one up is someone petitions for it, then it would go before the council. The council could add one or not. But in this case, we can't say, well, you know what, we're only gonna give out 5 gaming licenses. We can't do that, right? It would, all 20 people, if they want to apply for it, they get it, right?
Those establishments are all eligible under state statute. If they applied for it, they would be issued, provided they satisfy the criteria of the state, they would be eligible for a gaming license. And the city does not have any authority or ability to restrict that.
Anybody got a, Eugene?
Yeah, let's back up here for a minute. So if we did our sting operation, or the state does their sting operation that we do every year, and we see a violation, and it comes through the liquor commissioner's hearing, and their license is revoked for, I don't know, the statute has been 15 days or whatever, how we go for penalties. So does that mean if their liquor license is revoked, do we notify the state, or how do we go about that there ain't no more gambling? Because I'll tell you, the establishment could stay open that loses a liquor license because they're a restaurant. And how do we control those machines if they lose their liquor license? Does the state, we notify the state saying they don't have a liquor license, and then their machines are shut down, or how do we go about that. I think that's the concern that I think people are raising here.
Yeah, the city would notify the state of a revocation or suspension. During the period of suspension, they would not be eligible, and that would impact their ability to have that gaming device. Whether the state actually removes the gaming device during that period of suspension or not, I'm not sure how that works, or if they just shut the machine down. If it's a revocation, the machine has to be removed from the premises. And you may have some establishments that are otherwise allowed to operate, for example, a restaurant they can operate without a liquor license, but the gaming device has to be in a licensed establishment that has a liquor license. So they would not be eligible to have that during that period, and we would simply notify them and send them a certified copy of the liquor commissioner's decision to suspend or revoke the license.
Now, I'm going to ask the chief now what his opinion is. You're the one that has to protect the city
From a public safety standpoint,
from a public safety standpoint.
we're going to if it's allowed, we're going to handle it just as we would any liquor sales or tobacco sales with enforcement. I know during the previous meeting, I passed along a study that the National Criminal Justice Research Institute commissioned about specifically convenience gambling, which this is kind of considered, not gaming casinos. And they found no real increase in any type of crime issues, and we believe that would be the same in Wooddale.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bond?
Yeah, if I could just comment, there were some inquiries that were made to me relative to whether or not the city had the authority to restrict the licenses to veterans organizations, for example, or fraternal organizations. And